looking so debonair and dashing tonight. My name is Manav and I will be your MC for tonight. How are we feeling? Great. Welcome to the fourth edition of the Mahatma Peace Symposium 2024, an Australia-India Cultural Synergies initiative by the Saroni Roy Foundation to commemorate Mahatma Gandhi's 155th birth anniversary, Gandhi Jayanti, and the launch of Supernari, a period equity initiative. I would now like to acknowledge country. To start with, I would like to acknowledge the Indigenous people as the traditional custodians of land where we live, learn and work in the meeting today. The land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I would like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging and acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. This land always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Building on the remarkable success of the Mahatma Peace Symposium in previous years, hosted at Parliament House in New South Wales in 2022 and UTS in 2023, this year, Saroni Roy Foundation aims to expand the scope of the Global Community Forum. The Mahatma Peace Symposium 2024 will be hosted as a cultural diversity collective here in the Jubilee Room, Parliament House in New South Wales. A big thank you to our host, MP, the Honourable Warren Kirby, State Parliamentary Friends of India, Australia, the Honourable Julia Finn, MP, Parliamentary Secretary to the Premier and Parliamentary Secretary for the Arts, representing the Honourable Premier of New South Wales, Chris Minns, MP, and a warm welcome to parliamentarians, dignitaries, government leaders, community leaders, and each of you who are here tonight. I would now like to introduce Saroni Roy, founder and director of Saroni Roy Foundation, creator and producer of Mahatma Peace Symposium. A multi-hyphenate, Saroni is an Australian actor, co-chair Equity, Diversity and Federal Councillor for the Media, Entertainment and Arts Alliance. A sought-after celebrity guest speaker and global influencer. Championing diversity, equity and inclusion, she's the first Indian origin woman to hold this position. A cancer survivor facing multiple invisible disabilities, Saroni is a body activist and won the Miss India Australia Goodwill Ambassador title at the 2018 Mrs. India Australia Beauty Pageant for extensive contribution to the global community welfare and UN SDGs. Listed in the 100 most influentialist Asian Australians of the year by Being Asian Australian 2023 and 2024, she has won several awards, like the 2024 Diversity Enabler Award, 2022 Strathfield Citizen of the Year Award, to name a few. I would now like to call Saroni to the dais to do an introduction and welcome address. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manu, for that kind introduction. So, hello, global citizens. Hello to every one of you. Welcome to the Mahatma Peace Symposium 2024, an Australia-India Cultural Synergies initiative of the Saroni Roy Foundation to commemorate Gandhi Jayanti, or 155th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. And we are also launching Supernari, a period equity initiative. To start with, I would like to acknowledge the Indigenous people as the traditional custodians of the lands where we live, learn and work, and our meeting today, the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I would like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. This land always was and always will be Aboriginal land. 2024 onwards, SRF's focus will be on women, peace and security, the global agenda, highlighting Mahatma Gandhi's vision of the role of women in maintaining peace and their significant contributions to peace movements worldwide. SRF believes that women are crucial in creating non-violent, inclusive and peaceful societies, leading to sustainable and prosperous economies. The word Nari originates in Sanskrit, meaning woman. So Mahatma Gandhi's advocacy for the participation of women in Satyagraha movements marked a significant contribution to both women's empowerment and promotion of peace and prosperity, and their contribution to socioeconomic prosperity, which align deeply with SRF's core principles of diversity, sustainability, and social justice, aiming to create a more inclusive, more peaceful one world to love and live. I would like to welcome and thank each and every one of you here today, especially the Honourable Julia Finn MP, State Member for Grand Parliamentary Secretary to the Premier and Parliamentary Secretary for the Arts, representing the Honourable Premier of New South Wales, Chris Minns MP today. Our host MP, thank you very much, the Honourable Warren Kirby MP, State Member for Riverstone, State Parliamentary Friends of India, Australia. And we're expecting the Honourable Jodie Harrison MP, Minister for Women, the Honourable Jackie Munro MLC, the Honourable Nathan Haggerty MP, the Honourable Charisma Kalyanta MP, the Honourable Tim James MP, the Honourable Gurmesh Singh MP, the Honourable Matt Cross MP, the Honourable Natalie Ward MLC, and our wonderful MC for today, Manav, the Honourable Vijay Gopikesh Das Prabhu, Dr. Astrid Perry OM, Dr. Anna Cody, Patricia Garcia, Mr. Janardhan Shankar. Our sponsors, Vijay Virasamy from Shah Lawyers and Associates, Nadeem Ahmed from Indians in Sydney, hospitality sponsor, Mr. Yogesh Khatar from Indo-Australian Sanatan Society, Emmanuel Salvaraj from Cressel Software, Ashish Verma from Ash Designs, Creatives for Peace Partners, Bandana Cultural School, Sarat Project, Global Alliance Partners, ISKCON West Sydney Hare Krishna Community and Cultural Centre, Sri Lankan Australian Women's Network, Lions Club, Green Acres, World Malayali Council, Far East Asia and Australia, Indian Doctors in Australia, Arkajan University, Jharkhand, India, Collab Partners, Cash, Evergreen Memories, Harmohan's Click, Light Antenna, Merchandise Partners, Sari Selections, Anuraga Vedhara, Oza, Media Partners, Oz Arab Media, Desi Australia, The Australia Today, The Indian Subcontinent Times, Punjab Times, Kehte Sunte Radio, Sydney Pratidin, She Magazine, In This Age, Friends World TV, Alive 90.5 FM, Sydney Connections, Radio Hamwatan, Apu Radio, Metro Malayalam, Little India Harris Park Business Associations, Fingerprints, Untaboos, Sandy's Kitchen, Brand Canvas, Asha Australia Foundation, Mr. Bimal Joshi, Tida Yan, Jorge Feruza Rojas from Multicultural New South Wales, Raman Preet Wadhwa from Business New South Wales, Mr. Shankar Janardhan Prabhu, diplomats, ambassadors, government leaders, community leaders, I thank you very much for your presence and support to each and every guest who has joined us today to support our initiatives. And now let's just look at the memories from last year. So over to you, Pratik. So thank you so much to each and every one of you here today. Sponsors, partners, community outreach partners, supporters, photographers, oh my God, I mean, Uncle John, Auntie Liz, each of the dignitaries, panelists, everyone, you've just made this such a success and so meaningful. You've added so much of meaning to it. For what I started alone, just by myself, your support means so much to me. Thank you.
A round of applause, please. I think akin to the beauty of this room, it's really nice that each and every one of you here has an undying appetite to keep justice and equity alive, and I thank you for that. Now I'd like to call upon the stage the Honourable Julia Finn MP, Parliamentary Secretary to the Premier and Parliamentary Secretary for the Arts, representing the Honourable Premier of New South Wales, Chris Minns, to do the welcome address. The Honourable Premier has sent his message for the Mahatma Symposium, showcased on the screen behind me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. I too wish to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation and pay my respects to their elders past and present. My parliamentary colleagues, Nathan Hegarty, the member for Leppington, and Warren Kirby, the member for Riverston and the co-chair of the Parliamentary Friends of India. And I understand there's a number of other members of Parliament who will be joining us throughout the evening. Panel members, Dr. Astrid Perry, Patricia Garcia, and Dr. Anna Cody, Kriti Zadani, our MC tonight, and performers from the SRF Creators for Peace. Thank you, Saroni, for the invitation to be here tonight. It's my pleasure to represent our Premier, Chris Minns. He sends his best wishes to all of you. Tonight we celebrate the 155th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. This is the second time Gandhi Jayanti commemorations have been held at the New South Wales Parliament, and this is a wonderful opportunity to honour his legacy. It would be hard to imagine the modern world, let alone India, without his contribution. In India, Gandhi is held up as the father of the nation, having inspired millions to fight against the injustices of colonialism and bring about India's independence. And his pioneering work on non-violence has inspired citizens and activists from around the world. I myself have visited his ashram in Ahmedabad 4 times, each of the times I've been to Ahmedabad, and it is such a peaceful place, but you also, every time you go, you learn more about his life and his contribution and his incredible wisdom. And it's something that I've always treasured and always look forward to returning to. Gandhi's commitment to diversity and inclusion resonates here in New South Wales. He once wrote, "I want the cultures of all the lands to be blown around my house as freely as possible, but I refuse to be blown off my feet." He was happy for Indian poets to learn English, or any language for that matter, but he did not want them to ignore their mother tongue. Along these lines, the New South Wales Government recently announced more than $4 million in grants to revitalise Aboriginal languages across New South Wales. And this is the kind of initiative that Gandhi would have liked. Like our fellow citizens, Gandhi believed there was strength in diversity and that peace, while often elusive, was always possible. These values underpin tonight's symposium and inspire the work of the Saroni Roy Foundation. Tonight is also a chance to honour our state's deep ties with India. In New South Wales, the Indian diaspora is thriving. It's the third largest migrant community in our state, and we're now home to more than 260,000 people of Indian ancestry. 6 years ago, the Indian government gifted a life-size statue of Gandhi to New South Wales as a symbol of this enduring friendship. The statue stands in Parramatta, in the heartland of our state's Indian community. It's just a stone's throw from Harris Park, which is now officially known as Little India. And the ties between our nations are an enormous source of strength for our state. And we certainly saw this last year when Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited. It was a huge success and welcomed by people in their tens of thousands. And it also contributes greatly to our proud status here in New South Wales as one of the most diverse states in the world. Tonight we also remember Gandhi's role in inspiring the women's peace movement. With this in mind, we're called to reflect on the United Nations Women, Peace and Security Agenda. In the year 2000, the UN Security Council created a new resolution. It recognised the disproportionate impact that conflict and war has on women and girls. It also acknowledged the critical role that women can and already do play in peace-building efforts. And Australia is a committed supporter of this agenda. The Australian National Action Plan sets out our efforts in this space, and I know Saroni is a passionate advocate of this agenda. Through her foundation, she's dedicated to improving the lives of women and girls around the world. Which brings me to my final point. At tonight's symposium, we'll also launch the Foundation's Super Nari Period Equity campaign. It aims to raise awareness and improve equitable access to menstrual health education and products. And in the current cost of living crisis, almost 2/3 of young Australian women are struggling to afford period products, and the New South Wales Government is committed to addressing this issue. Last year, we completed the rollout of period product dispensers to New South Wales public schools. And in the first 6 months of 2024, the program has provided more than 9,200 pairs of period underwear and approximately 360,000 pads and tampons to New South Wales students. We've also allocated $12.5 million to the National Aboriginal Community Controlled Health Organisations to distribute free period products. And we've introduced a new policy for New South Wales Health Services to provide free access to sanitary pads and tampons to patients who are unable to supply their own. Super Nari represents an important opportunity to advance this work on a global scale. And so I congratulate Saroni on the launch of this campaign tonight. Once again, it's great to join you tonight. My thanks to the Saroni Roy Foundation for hosting this very special event, and I look forward to some important discussions and celebrations this evening. Thank you.
Stage our host, the Honourable Warren Kelly MP, State Parliamentary Friends of India, Australia, to the Australia-India Cultural Synergies keynote address. Thank you.
Well, friends, it's an absolute pleasure to be here addressing the Mahatma Peace Symposium, observing Gandhi Jayanti, the 155th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. I want to begin by acknowledging also the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and extend that to any elders any Indigenous people who are here in the room with us this evening. I also want to thank and acknowledge Saroni Roy of the Saroni Roy Foundation for this significant initiative, as well as all of those who have made this event possible. I recognise my parliamentary colleagues who are in the room with us this evening. We have Julia Finn, who has just spoken, the Parliamentary Secretary to the Premier. We have Nathan Haggerty, the Government Whip. We've just been joined by Stephen Barley, the member for Blacktown. And the representation of parliamentarians puts a light on how much the New South Wales Parliament values the connection between the Indian and Australian relationship, and also the importance of such an important historical figure as Mahatma Gandhi. And today, as we commemorate Gandhi Jayanti, to reflect on the visions of promoting sustainable peace, resilient communities and socio-economic development, three core principles that Gandhi championed throughout his life. For years, the Saroni Roy Foundation has been committed to fostering the values in honour of Gandhiji's vision. The foundation is focused on diversity, sustainability and social justice. Each year gathering to commemorate not only his life but also the values that continue to inspire our global community. Indeed, Gandhi, simply the name Gandhi inspires visions of peace and harmony throughout the world. This year's symposium, the focus is directed towards women, peace and security, a theme that resonated deeply with Gandhiji's advocacy for women participation in the Satyagraha movement. Gandhiji understood the unique perspectives and contributions have always been crucial to socio-economic prosperity. As we reflect on Gandhiji's teaching, let us acknowledge the significant strides made towards women's empowerment. Yet we must also confront the challenges that remain. The Global Peace Builders Forum 2024, part of the Cultural Diversity Collective, is poised to launch the Supanara, the Period Equity Initiative. This initiative directly addresses the pressing issue of period poverty, which undermines the dignity and the potential of countless individuals, particularly in vulnerable communities. The mission to create 1 million Supanaris aims to ensure women have equitable access to menstrual products and education. By breaking the stigma surrounding menstrual health, we empower these individuals. We reduce school dropout rates and enhance their participation in various sectors, be that education, sports, aviation, STEM studies, or business. This initiative is not merely about providing resources, it's about restoring dignity and creating opportunities and reducing the potential for social isolation. Earlier this year in January, I had the opportunity to visit Gandhiji's house in Ahmedabad. I hope to get to the level of visitation that Julia has had over the years, but I can say it was an absolutely moving experience. His home and surroundings highlighting his commitment to peace and social change. Walking through the space where he lived, visiting the room in which he resided, offered a unique perspective on his life and a lasting impact of the ideas on our world today. It's an experience that I am truly grateful for and I will remember for the rest of my life. And I want to congratulate the Saroni Roy Foundation for another successful Mahatma Peace Symposium. Your dedication to promoting sustainable peace and women's empowerment and community resilience is truly inspiring and evident in your growth. To quote Gandhiji, "The future depends on what we do in the present." And through your initiatives, you are making a significant impact in honouring Gandhiji's legacy in meaningful ways, building the world of Gandhiji that Gandhiji envisaged. So thank you.
Thank you very much for having me here this evening. I'll echo the words of my colleagues by acknowledging that we meet today on the lands of the Eora people of the Gadigal Nation. I acknowledge my colleagues that are coming and going, so I won't name them because I'll probably miss one or note one that has left, and of course the many familiar faces I can see in the crowd. It's wonderful to be here tonight, especially to acknowledge what is a very, very important date in the annual calendar, October 2nd, which is the 155th birth anniversary of Gandhi Jayanti. It is also another very important date. It's the date my now wife and I started going out, not 155 years ago, a little shorter than that, but it probably is the reason we have such a peaceful relationship. The energy of Gandhi Jayanti is obviously embedded in our relationship. We've been going for a number of decades, and I only noted that when we had this event coming up, so I will let my wife know next time she starts to become unpeaceful with me that she should reflect on the date we started to go out. But it is a very, very important day because we honour probably one of the most significant figures of the 20th century. Someone who taught us about a message of non-violence and peaceful resistance. And I will remark that it's not just a message and something that is isolated to what was formerly the Indian Raj. It is a global struggle and a global message, and I think we saw a reflection of that in the video earlier when we saw a young Gandhi with his what we call Western clothes on. You know, he did study in the UK, studied law for a few years, and then he moved to South Africa for I think it was about 20 years, and that was where he was first. I'll use the word radicalised, I guess, but where he first encountered significant discrimination and that's where his message started to build. So it is a global message, and we have seen that message inspire others from Martin Luther King to Nelson Mandela to Aung San Suu Kyi. So it is a very, very powerful message, and it's a very, very powerful message in today's world. We obviously see conflict in Ukraine, and we see conflict in the Middle East, which is certainly the last couple of days sadly spread from Palestine into Lebanon. So if we need his message, we need it today more than ever. This makes this a very, very important symposium tonight. The symposium is especially important because it highlights the role women play in peace and security, and this is something that Gandhi obviously believed in. He empowered women to lead in the struggle for justice and peace. And we continue that focus today with the theme, which is women, peace and security in the global agenda. The empowerment of women is and will always be key to building peaceful societies. And of course, we also are here tonight to launch the initiative, the Supernari Period Equity Initiative. This initiative addresses important issues in relation to period poverty and women's health. Around the world, many women and girls still don't have access to basic menstrual products, and that obviously affects their quality of life, their education, and the important work that they do. This initiative isn't just about providing products, it's about making sure that we can talk openly and about menstrual health. We can help, and most importantly, help girls stay in school and ensure that no one is held back by what is a natural part of the women's body. With this campaign, we can reduce school dropouts, increase participation in work and sports, and give girls and women the dignity that they deserve. Can I acknowledge the Sarani Roy Foundation and Sarani Roy herself for the important work that they do on issues such as this. Since 2021, excellent. The foundation has been promoting peace, resilience, social justice, and this year's symposium here in this great building continues that fantastic work. And that initiative I just spoke about, the Supernari, shows how local efforts can create a global impact. And I think that's an important thing that we should reflect on when we see what's happening in the world. That sometimes these issues seem bigger than us and bigger than the individual, but you have an individual there, one person, that did change the world and change the course of history. And I do go back to what I spoke about earlier and the troubles that we have in the world, but peace begins with each of us. Every single one of us has a role to play, and with our individual actions, whether they're big or small, we can make a change in the world. And that's something I guess I'm coming to grips with as a Member of Parliament. In my short time I've been here 18 months, and I'm sure, Warren, you're the same, Charisma, down the back. You still sit in that building in there, in that chamber, and you look up and you reflect and you make you have an impact on these tiny little changes that have a ripple effect that impact people in New South Wales, and each of us can do the same and have an impact that changes and has a ripple throughout the world, especially when it comes to peace. So Let us all take inspiration from Gandhi's life and work and walk away from here committing to build a world where we all can live with dignity, equality and peace. Thank you.
I would now like to take the time to introduce Saroni Roy and Tanima Banerjee, SRF Creators for Peace performance powered by the SRF Creators in Bandana Cultural School. The performance today is a tribute to Mahatma Gandhi and to all creators and artists creating a peaceful, inclusive world, capturing the very essence of SRF Creators. Today, Saroni and Tanima will be presenting a selection of Mahatma Gandhi's favourite songs, showcasing CALD, cultural and linguistically diverse artists from India and Australia, accompanied by semi-classical and contemporary dance performance by Tanima Banerjee. Adapting to the COVID-19 restrictions, Saroni remotely worked with musicians and artists based in India to curate this authentic and exquisite piece of art. Ensconced in the Gandhian values of ahimsa, courage, determination, solidarity, harmony and peace. The artist and musician, based in Calcutta, India for the music contest. Pankaj Paul, music arrangement, synth guitar and bass guitar. Mandola Joy, santoor, sitar and flute. Shivam Ganjilal, mandolin and dotara. Rithim Joy Das, mixing engineer. A round of applause, please.
To the limitations of language, faith, geography, race, or nationality. If we look at some of the diverse ethnicities that have come together today, many of us have experienced war, conflict, and loss in our homeland. Art and artists are therefore an integral catalyst in uniting people, celebrating our rich cultural heritage and perpetuating a culture of peace and harmony. The first song, Vaishnav Jantal, written by poet Narsingh Mehta, is in Gujarati language. It's a song that has a deep spiritual impact even after 600 years, which will continue to inspire generations to come. The song talks about humanity, kindness, truthfulness, and how people should live for each other, understand each other's pain, and do good in the world without taking pride in it. Kindness, truth, and non-violence, not just in actions, but in thoughts, words, language we use for each other. Practicing equality, tolerance, love, and respect for everyone around the world. This way we can all step in and do our part. So here's Vaishnav Jantal. वैष्णव जन तो तेरे कहे जे पीर पराए जाने रे वैष्णव जन तो तेरे कहे जे पीर पराए जाने रे पर दुखे उपकार करे तुई पर दुखे उपकार करे तुई मन अभिमान the next one is in Hindi. Raghupati Raghav, also known as Ramdhan, was sung by Mahatma Gandhi and his followers as they walked the 241-mile Salt March to Dundee. It signifies interfaith solidarity. So here's Raghupati Raghav. Now the next one is a Bengali, written by Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore. Tagore and Mahatma Gandhi were great friends and seldom disagreed on issues concerning India. In fact, the moniker Mahatma was bestowed upon him by Tagore. So here's Akla Chaudhary. Thank you so much.
And Aussie to say a few words to mark the occasion.
Oh, thank you so much.
Good evening. Welcome to the New South Wales Parliament. I have seen a few of you here before, but if it's your first time, it's really wonderful to have you here. And on such an auspicious occasion as the anniversary of 155 years since the birth of Mahatma Gandhi, it's definitely an occasion that we want to mark because of his impact on the world and the lessons that he was able to teach us that have been, of course, relevant over many years since he was born. Congratulations, Saroni, for bringing together such a wonderful group of people and for such an excellent occasion as this. Your work is tireless and it's really wonderful to see the community support around you. Very briefly, I just wanted to note something that I've been dwelling on quite a lot lately, which is the role of artificial intelligence. And I think that this has a really important relevance to peace and our relations with one another. And just like non-violent resistance is a principle that can be used and a tool that can be used over time, we also have to think about the technologies and the way we communicate with our modern context, and that includes AI. And AI as a tool can be something that is incredibly destructive. It can be a tool that is used for evil, let's say, certainly for warfare, but it is also something that we can use to ensure that we are better communicating with each other. And I wanted to point to the example of Taiwan. They have used what is called a pro-social media tool called Polis, and it's all about bringing people together. So unlike the more concerning algorithms that are currently, I guess, in some way controlling the narrative of our social interactions through things like Facebook or TikTok or Instagram, pro-social media actually tries to bring us together rather than divide us. And it's an important technology that essentially it works by upvoting the information that draws different opinions together. So instead of having a really incendiary or violent or aggressive or polarizing comment that might be given much more purchase on a Facebook feed or a TikTok feed, which is currently the case, unfortunately, because it generates lots of emotion and anger and sometimes affirming our worst intentions or our worst feelings from within. Pro-social media actually aims to join us together. So it will upvote something that is actually what is called a joining statement or a joining value. So where you've got two different ideas, if there is somebody who has said, I see this side of the argument and this side of the argument, maybe there's a way that we can see each other's perspectives and come up with a new solution that incorporates different identities. That is pro-social media, and that is the kind of discourse that is actually promoted through these tools. So in an important place in time, which we're on this verge of, say, a fourth revolution of technology, it's more important than ever to understand how we can better create worlds that generate peace, that generate understanding, that give us tools of communication so that we, as much as possible, avoid misunderstanding. And I think that they are some of the principles and values that Gandhi was able to not just adhere to and live by himself, but also gain followers to adhere to. And that's part of that communication tool, finding similarities and finding the things that help us work together. So just wanted to leave you with that thought. And again, I should say thank you to my parliamentary colleagues who are here as well. Hopefully they've been recognised, and also note that we are, of course, in the spirit of understanding our context in time, standing on Gadigal land here, which is a really important thing to honour and commemorate. This year, the Legislative Council, the Parliament, the chamber that I'm in the upper house, celebrated its 200th year, and the chamber was created actually to impose martial law and impose colonial settlement on Aboriginal communities out in Bathurst in New South Wales. So we have to remember what division has meant for so many people in our world and what it can mean for the future, but recognise that we have the tools today and hopefully the foresight as well as the insight to make change and progress for the better. So thank you again, Saroni.
And the Honourable Charisma Kalyanda MP to stay on stage to felicitate our proud sponsors. Vijay Viraswamy from Shah Lawyers and Associates. Nadeem Ahmed from Indians in Sydney. Our proud hospitality sponsor, Yogesh Khattar from India Australia Sanathan Society. Emmanuel Selvaraj from Cressel Software. Ashish Verma from Ash Designs. Thank you. Thank you to our proud sponsors. Could I please now call upon the Honourable Karishma Kalyanda MP, State Member for Liverpool, to say a few words to mark the occasion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and it is a real honour to join such a wonderful crowd of people from across this city of ours who have come together to mark not only an auspicious occasion in terms of the upcoming birth of 150th anniversary of the birth of Gandhiji, but also a principle that I think we all share and value in terms of preserving, upholding and promoting peace. As we look across the world at events in many other parts of the world, I think it's really relevant for all of us to acknowledge that peace is something that we are blessed with in this country, but it is something that is a little bit out of reach for many across the world. And we see the images across our television screens. We see images being beamed directly to our phones these days through social media platforms, and they all leave an indelible mark on our psyches that our fellow human beings don't have the peace, the security and the capacity to be able to live their hopes, dreams and aspirations. And that is part of why we come together to ensure that we all remember how lucky we are, firstly, in this country, but also how incumbent it is upon all of us to ensure that we work towards peace as much as we can. I know that this year's symposium is around the importance of peace and womanhood and promoting the rights of women. So I thought I would go back and look at a few of Gandhiji's teachings and his approaches to women and the important role that we have in encouraging and promoting peace within our communities, within our networks. And Gandhiji was a very early promoter and supporter of women and of the important role that women have to play in our society and community. And for a man of that era, that may not have been so easy. I know that there would have been a lot of prejudice, there would have been a lot of restrictions placed on how openly women could circulate within society at that time. But something that I came across really struck me, and it was the important role that two women in particular had on Gandhiji's life. The first was his mother, who gave him a lifelong vision of leadership and patriotism and service towards one's country as reflective of motherhood. He increasingly used motherhood as a model for liberation of India. And he saw that the country was like a mother having brought forth a child who selflessly devotes herself to the care of that child until they grow up, become independent. And even after they do so, the grown-up children are a constant desire and source of concern and care for that mother. And that is the role of leadership that is the model of leadership that he really viewed and encouraged within the freedom movement. The second very important role model he had in his life was his wife, Kasturba, who, although she took a backseat in his life and his many accomplishments and his work in the country, liberation of the country, he learned a lot from Kasturba and her commitment to her principles and her commitment to her spirituality. It is said that some of his calmness even came from how calmly she approached situations. And I think having seen the events of the day in the Legislative Assembly, I think it's something that all of us in that place can take on board, how to approach challenges and problematic situations with a sense of calm. It's definitely something I strive for. And it's interesting that Kasturba also became the mother figure to many of Gandhiji's disciples and many of the other freedom fighters of that era. So as we look at some of the modern day barriers and challenges for women in taking their place as leaders and taking their rightful place as equal participants in our societies and in our communities, that is obviously where initiatives like Supanari are incredibly important. We know that period poverty, we know that lack of access to spaces whilst menstruating can be a huge issue for many women. We know that there are charities here in Australia that also try and help women navigate this issue. So I commend Sereni and I commend the Sereni Roy Foundation for choosing this important initiative to make sure that we are all mindful that those in our community who may not have the same rights and opportunities that we do are equally worthy of attention and equally worthy of effort and work to make sure that they have an equal opportunity to prosper and to fulfill their potential. Of course, it's important to acknowledge my parliamentary colleagues across both houses. It is a reflection of the importance of this cause, of the importance of the work that you do, Saroni, and all of your team, of course. So, to paraphrase the words of Kamala Harris, events like these don't just fall out of a coconut tree. They take a lot of effort, time, resources, and initiative to bring together. So I commend your entire team for the work that you put forward in bringing us together to pay attention to causes like this, and also acknowledge that in the same way that the role of the Mahatma in challenging colonial movements in India is celebrated and remembered to this day, we also acknowledge that we meet today on land that was never ceded, on land that has seen many centuries worth of scars from colonialism, and I acknowledge that we have an important responsibility to remember that and to seek justice and the truth wherever possible. So thank you so much for the opportunity to join you all. I wish you all a lovely evening.
Well, Charisma Kalyanda MP, Honourable Warren Kirby MP, and Honourable Jackie Monroe MLC to please facilitate our Global Alliance Partners by the Media Wall. Thank you. Thank you. The Honourable Vijay Gopikesh Das Prabhu from ISKCON West, Sydney, Hare Krishna Community and Cultural Centre, Bimal Joshi from Lions Club Green Acres, Deepa Nair from World Malay Council, Far East Asia and Australia, Nalika Padmasena from Sri Lankan Australia Women's Network, Indian Doctors in Australia, and Arka Jain University, Jharkhand, India. I would now like to introduce Abhinav Bose and Raya Ali, the creators of Peace performance powered by the Sarhad Project. Introducing the Sarhad Project, the Sounds of Unity Sarhad Project was born from the unique collaboration between two musicians, Abhi from Amritsar, India, and Ali from Lahore, Pakistan. As international students, they shared a vision of transcending geographical and cultural divides through their music, and forming Australia's biggest multicultural musical collaboration. Beyond mere performance, Sarhad Project carries a profound purpose. With each chord and lyric, they strive to dismantle cultural barriers, fostering unity, acceptance, and understanding amongst diverse communities. Just the principle that Australia's community embodies within us. Recently, their band has expanded, enlisting 6 exceptional musical talents from Nepal who have deep-rooted appreciation for South Asian music and culture. Join Abhinav Bose and Raya Ali Imam from Sarhad Project on their journey as they harmonise cultures, one note at a time. Thank you.
And this beautiful evening. Today we are very excited to be here, and I think for everyone this is really special. We've all grown up with Gandhiji's message, and for today we would like to present some of the really melodious songs. And as you've already seen something about my band over here, we are a multicultural group. All our musicians are from 3 different countries, and together we just want to bring the message of peace and harmony through music. So, yeah. My name is Abhinav again. For introduction, this is Raya Lima. Starting to become our band's representation. So we are very popular with the Sufi rock genre, and this is going to be an example of that. Chambe of our last songs for this evening. If you can find the tempo for this song, I'd like every one of you to clap along with us. Let's see if you can do it. Clap along or tap your feet.
से बिछड़ा प्यारा मैं दिल से तेरा क्यों हारा मैं तूने क्या किया सारी दुनिया से जीत के मैं आया हूँ इधर तेरे आगे ही मैं हारा किया तूने क्या सर दिल का राज कहता हूँ कि जब जब सांसें लेता हूँ तेरा ही नाम लेता हूँ तूने क्या किया इश्क
What a beautiful performance. Can you feel the air around you? So, I'm moved. Thank you. Could I please request Saroni and the Honourable Jodie Harrison to please facilitate our beautiful performance. Thank you. Thank you to the Hug Project. Just for information, refreshments are now open to the room right behind us throughout the entire evening. Could I please request the Honourable Jodie Harrison, Minister for Women, to mark the occasion and say a few words.
I wasn't sure I was going to be able to get here tonight, so I certainly don't have anything prepared. But I will take the opportunity firstly to acknowledge country, that we are on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I would like to pay respects to First Nations people, the traditional custodians and any Aboriginal people who are here with us today. I would also like to welcome you to Parliament, the oldest Parliament in Australia, in this beautiful building. And when I met Saroni, I don't know, maybe a month ago or so, a few weeks ago, I was struck by her passion for social justice, by her passion for improving the lives of people who need additional support, and her passion for equality, particularly the issues around period equity. And I certainly really want to congratulate the Foundation for its focus on ensuring equity for girls and women who need support in relation to dealing with issues that can be difficult for people who are struggling financially and who are experiencing financial poverty themselves. I'm really pleased that here in New South Wales, for girls, we have the girls who are at school access to period products. So it is something that that I am very keen to see continue, and the government is keen as well. There is always more that we can do for gender equality in this state and right across the world, and I just really want to congratulate Saroni for the work that she's doing in this space and has done in the past, and I'm sure will continue to do. So congratulations to all the performers tonight and the panellists as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you.
Could I please request the Honourable Jodie Harrison MP to present the Supernari Awards 2024 for outstanding contribution to the Women, Peace and Security Global Agenda. Congratulations. I would now like to request the Honourable Jodie Harrison MP, Honourable Karishma Kalyanda MP, and Honourable Warren Kirby MP to please felicitate our proud community partners. Sanjeev from Little India Harris Park Business Association, Pankaj Tagri from Sydney Connections, Udra from Fingerprints, Dr. Nivedita Manokaran from Untaboos, Sanji's Kitchen, Kamal Kathari from Brown Canvas, Vijinda Dugal from Asha Australia Foundation, and Bimal Joshi. I would now like to introduce Honourable Matt Cross MP, Statement for Davidson, to say a few words to mark the occasion.
Well, hello friends. Thank you so much for coming to the New South Wales Parliament. I want to personally welcome all of you to what is Australia's oldest Parliament. This year we're celebrating 200 years, and the building you're in is actually the longest continuous building in Sydney. So this is your house, so please make sure that you always feel welcome in coming here. And I also encourage you, if you're up to it, to come to question time, which leads me, I think, to what I want to talk about, which is tonight peace. But before I do, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I also want to acknowledge some of the parliamentary colleagues here, of course, Karishma Kalyanda, Minister Harrison and Tim James MP, and Warren Kirby, of course. It's great that you have support across the Parliament for the work you're doing with peace. I know many of you are thinking, is this Steve Smith talking to you? I sadly cannot play cricket like Steve Smith, but I often get said that I often look like him. But it is really a great pleasure to be here tonight. I want to pay tribute to Sonny. So can we give a big round of applause for the organisation? Can I also say that it is so needed in this world that we talk about peace. We see a lot of conflicts happening around the world, both overseas, but also we see in many other countries division when it comes to decision making. And I think, first of all, it's so glad that we have two wonderful democracies in Australia and, of course, India, in which I believe that we come together more than we think. We have a lot more in common, and I think that's just so important at this time. But of course, I want to pay tribute to the great work of Gandhi. It is just so important in this world that we all find peace, both internally but externally. And I know that it takes every individual, every single one of us to want to have peace in our lives, but also that can shine on to other people. So again, I just want to say thank you so much for having me here tonight, and please do come back to the New South Wales Parliament, because this is your house. Thank you.
Thank you for that. There's a very excited 7-year-old boy in the room right now. Meet Praha, a talented 7-year-old who won the International Mother Tongue Language Competition in Hindi and Gujarati for 2022 and 2023, and is the youngest finalist for the Simba Award. Passionate about Gandhi and philosophy, Praha also creates insightful videos on Gandhi and his social media platform at I Am Praha.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we're celebrating the birth anniversary of a very special person, Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi was a great leader of India who taught us the importance of peace, kindness and bravery. Let me share a story about Gandhi's childhood. When Gandhi was a little boy, just like me, he was afraid of the dark. One evening, his mother asked him to fetch something from another room. Gandhi hesitated because the room was dark and he was scared. His mother smiled and gently said, "Think of God and be brave." Taking his mother's advice to heart, young Gandhi gathered all his courage, thought of God, took a deep breath and walked into the dark room. To his surprise, it wasn't that scary as he imagined. This small act of bravery helped him realize that with a little courage he could overcome his fears. As Gandhi grew up, he remembered this lesson and used it in his fight for India's freedom. Gandhi believed in standing up for what's right without using violence. Gandhi led peaceful protests and showed the world that love and kindness are more powerful than anger and hate. One of Gandhi's famous sayings is, "Be the change you want to see in the world." This means that if we want to see a better world, we should start being better ourselves by being kind to each other, helping those in need and standing up for what's right. We all have fears, just like young Gandhi, but if we face them with courage and remember to be kind, we can do amazing things. So on this special day, let's promise to be a bit more like Gandhi did. Kind, brave and peaceful. Thank you to the Sononido Foundation for organizing the Mahatma Peace Symposium 2024, a heartfelt tribute to Mahatma Gandhi. Your dedication to promoting peace, unity and Gandhian values inspires us all. Together, we continue to walk the path of peace and non-violence.
Could I please request Honourable Tim James to mark the occasion with some words?
Well, a very hard act to follow. That was really exceptional. Well done indeed. Beautiful words and so eloquently spoken. To you all, good evening. I'm Tim James, the member for Willoughby. To my friend Saroni Roy, it is a great joy and pleasure and honour to be with you. Thank you for having me. Distinguished guests, so many distinguished guests, obviously my parliamentary colleagues, friends one and all. Again, a great pleasure to be with you. To speak at the 2024 Mahatma Peace Symposium, and yes, it is a very timely theme for our world today. Can I just briefly reflect for a moment on two things? I've got some notes to speak to in a moment, but number one, Saroni and I shared what was one of the most memorable nights of all my time, which is about 2.5 years since I was elected, when we attended the Australian Indian Orchestra playing at the concourse in Chatswood. That was an exceptional concert. Those two young brothers, one conducting, one lead violinist. It was a most exceptional night, and I was very proud to be a part of it. So thank you for that night. And I should mention, and I'm very proud to mention, that the fastest growing community in my electorate of Willoughby is indeed the Indian community, and they are overwhelmingly good, hard-working, spirited, thoughtful, decent people. So I'm very, very proud to be among them and among you all tonight. Saroni, of course, established this foundation in 2020. Time flies, doesn't it, very much. Inspired by the life and legacy of the great Indian statesman and independence leader Mahatma Gandhi, the Saroni Roy Foundation is a very welcome voice and a very timely voice for the empowerment of women and girls, especially in poorer developing countries. And tonight's symposium honours, of course, as you well know, the 155th anniversary of Gandhi's birth on the 2nd of October 1869. Imagine how different the world was back then, and yet the fundamental values of which he spoke and for which he fought are indeed timeless. He was, as you know better than I, the much celebrated father of modern India. Gandhi is revered for his lifelong pursuit of truth, freedom, peace and justice, indeed timeless values. Gandhi envisaged women as critical agents in the creation of non-violent, inclusive and peaceful societies leading to sustainable and prosperous economies and communities. And in honour of Gandhi, his birth date of the 2nd of October is now the UN International Day of Non-Violence, which the Foundation has been commemorating each year since 2021. To give practical effect to Gandhi's legacy, the Sir Roy Foundation is dedicated to promoting sustainable peace, resilient communities and socio-economic development through the empowerment of women and girls. These objectives are very important in our world today, and I want to commend the Foundation for its vision to advance human well-being. And I especially acknowledge your advocacy work that you are doing to advance the human rights and opportunities of women and girls around the world. And I'm a father of 2 little girls, they're 9 and 7, and happily married to a beautiful woman, and we have a little boy too. But we all, whether or not we are the father of girls, we all have an interest in a world that affords every woman and every girl every dignity, every right and every opportunity and safety as well. So I want to once again commend Sir Roy for her great vision, initiative and drive behind the Sir Roy Foundation and this symposium tonight. I wish the Foundation every success in continuing to champion the great ideals of Mahatma Gandhi in your practical efforts to relieve poverty and advance the well-being of women and girls. You are doing wonderful work. We thank you very much for that and wish you every continued success. Thank you, good luck and God bless you.
Our first merchandise partner, Anuraga by Dara Oza, is supporting the Super Nari project by putting their heritage collection of Gandhi kurtas, jewellery and accessories on auction. The profits from the auction will be donated to the cause. Dara has some of these heritage pieces on display today at the Symposium, available for purchase. Shivani and Dheeraj from Sari Selections to support Project Super Nari, starting from today. Saroni Sari Selections will donate 10% of the sales proceeds from every red colour sari or item sold. Saroni is wearing a custom-made OG Super Nari sari today. Saroni collaborated with Sari Selections to create this exquisite piece of heritage in Maheshwari silk in bold red that signifies beauty, passion, suspiciousness, and also depicts the goddess Durga's anger against evil. It features a hand-painted reproduction of Raja Ravi Verma's famous Damayanti that embodies the spirit of Super Nari. A royal tone painter, Raja Ravi Verma, painter of colonial India, best known for uniting Hindu mythological subject matter with European realist historicist painting style that reflected the modernization of India. Congratulations to our proud merchandising partners. And also depicts the goddess Durga's anger against evil. It features a hand-painted reproduction of Raja Ravi Verma's famous... Thank you. And congratulations once again. I would now like to introduce the Global Peace Builders Forum 2024 to deep dive into Super Nari, a period equity initiative. Now I will be introducing our esteemed panellists. Our moderator for our panel discussion is Sir Roy, and our first panellist is Dr. Astrid Perry Oenya. Dr. Astrid is the head of Women in Equity, Domestic and Family Violence at Settlement Services International, focused on supporting migrant and refugee and multicultural communities. She leads the implementation of Women and Girls Strategic Plan and has developed multiple domestic and family violence projects aimed at supporting migrant and refugee women and their children. Dr. Anna Cody. Dr. Cody started as Australia's Sex Discrimination Commissioner in September 2023. Before this, Dr. Cody had a distinguished career as an academic, as a lawyer specializing in discrimination and as a passionate advocate for human rights. Her work over the years has included substantial advocacy to various United Nations human rights committees that have reviewed Australia's and other nations' fulfillment of the human rights obligations. And Patricia Garcia AO, a human rights advocate, and has worked for over 20 years in some of the world's most dangerous conflict-ridden regions, including Afghanistan, Bosnia, Kosovo, Rwanda, Sudan, South Sudan, and the Thai-Burma border. She was appointed an Officer of the Order in 2016 and was 2016 New South Wales Australian of the Year Awards finalist for her contribution and services to the international humanitarian aid and development sector. Patricia is currently the Institute for Economics and Peace, IEP, Partnership Development Manager and a fierce advocate of the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. Please welcome them with a round of applause.
Project, which is a initiative, and the first context or what we want to understand here or raise awareness about would be that the principles of Sutta Abraham and how non-violent societal leadership by women emphasize the importance of women's roles in fulfilling global peace and stability. In that, I think the question here to Dr. Anna and Patricia and Dr. Astrid would be that each of you have extensive knowledge and experience, lived experience in engaging and interacting with women and girls in period precarity, various conditions in different regions of the world, deprived of basic human rights, also a form of gender-based violence. And so can you give us some examples or stories that reflect the gravity of this situation, the women, peace and security crisis? So I think we start from Dr. Astrid here. From your work, Dr. Astrid, which communities or cohorts of communities do you think are most likely to be affected by period poverty?
Okay, thank you. I guess for talking for Australia, it certainly is those ones who experience, for example, domestic violence, those who are homeless or at risk of homeless, those who are living essentially in poverty or under the poverty line. And we have many of those, but also increasingly with the cost of living, there is evidence that there is period poverty. And so a recent research study of 153,000 in Australia has found that 24% said that they want a tampon or a pad for longer than the recommended 4 hours to save funds. And nearly 9% had to need to improvise because they at the time, 90% couldn't at the time afford sanitary pads. So yeah, it's definitely present here. There's no question about it. But as for a more personal story, I was thinking around period and around the dignity and respect around period in itself. And I was thinking there is still a stigma and shame. So when I grew up as a young woman, when we bought sanitary pads, they were wrapped in brown paper, like brown packaging paper, so that nobody knew that what you were buying. But of course, everybody knew anything wrapped in brown paper would be sanitary products. And you didn't have your period once a month. You had Auntie Emma visiting because you weren't talking about it. You weren't using the words. And still now, you hear people say, she's got her days or she's got her monthlies. We don't necessarily name it what it is. And so you have a stigma around periods and then you have a stigma around poverty. So we do need to make sure that the products are accessible without attaching a stigma to it. So there are stories. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Astrid. Patricia, from your experience, could you please share some stories that kind of have, touch your heart in a way which is painful to a large extent and kind of describes or talks about, the situation, the crisis of period poverty?
My experience is drawn from spending more than 20 years working in many conflict zones where I was working as a humanitarian worker assisting refugees from around the world. And many of you would know that the majority of refugees are actually women and children. So looking at that and looking at their needs, what was very obvious to me in the countries that I worked in, which included countries like Sudan, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Rwanda, Thai-Burma border, Kosovo, and also Afghanistan. In many of these countries, particularly working with women and children and working in the area of providing basic needs such as water, education, food, health, shelter. What was very obvious is that refugees and displaced people come with nothing. And when it comes to the situation of the monthly period of menstruation, what happens to the women and girls who have nothing? Particularly in the refugee settlements where I worked, where literally the women and girls would not be visible because they would not leave their tents or their homes, having no access to any menstrual periods, not even having access to water or soap or sanitation facilities. So this is an issue that is a whole of society issue. It's not a women and girls issue. It is a human rights issue. It is a gender equality issue, and it's a peace issue. And what's very important is that there is a direct relationship between the use of menstrual hygiene products, sanitary pads, and average household income. In other words, for women and girls who use sanitary pads, they have higher average income than those women and girls who have no access to sanitary pads. So that is why we're calling this period poverty. There's a direct link between income and actually the use of menstrual hygiene products such as sanitary pads. The other important aspect is not only the lack of access to sanitary pads and also basic facilities such as water, sanitation and hygiene. We also have situations where in schools, particularly where no health education was given, most of the girls reported very little or no awareness about menstruation. So this also shows you the importance of education and being able to raise awareness. In many situations, the issue of stigma is another very important aspect of this issue. The cultural shame, the issue of taboo. In some cultures, women and girls are treated as if they have the plague when they have their monthly periods. And this whole issue often is a lot to do with no discussion even in the family home about menstruation. We need to also include men and boys in conversation about menstruation. And I absolutely would like to congratulate the Supanari initiative because we do need to focus on information, education, communication, also to encourage organisations to develop funding mechanisms to invest in programs that can address the gaps and address the needs of women and girls and communities on this issue. We also need to foster more international dialogue on this issue and host forums, webinars and workshops to bring together not just women and girls, of course, but parents, families, teachers, healthcare workers, social workers, unions, governments, and key whole of society stakeholders to actually alleviate poverty, period poverty. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patricia. You've kind of encapsulated the crisis and also talked a little about how we can address it, a few points in that. Dr. Anna, we would go back to the crisis, the gravity of the situation, and how it is a basic human right for every menstruating person, including transgender menstruating persons, women and girls, the taboo and the shame. Apart from that, it's a basic human right, and therefore I feel, and we all feel, that it's a gender-based violence and a discrimination, which kind of is a hindrance and a big roadblock in terms of girls and women and every menstruating person making choices in life like sports, aviation, business, their attendance at work, attendance at school, all of it is affected, and the mental health is affected. So how would you describe from your personal experiences or lived experiences or the communities that you have been interacting and engaging with, any examples or stories that you can share with us?
Thank you so much, Sarani, and thank you for inviting me here this evening. It's a real honour to be here, and I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that we're on, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. Pay my respects to elders past and present, and to any of you who are First Nations people. And you're absolutely right in identifying it as a basic human right. A right to health. Women have a right to health, and all people have a right to health. And that means, as Patricia was highlighting, whether that's access to period products or also access to water, so that you can have basic sanitation so that people can clean themselves also. And you're right, as highlighted by Astrid, the cost of living crisis is affecting people differently in Australia. So we know that worldwide, absolutely refugee populations are deeply impacted, and in Australia we also know that there are particular communities that are impacted. That's young people who are impacted. The Gen Z are much more impacted by this cost of living crisis than those who are older, and they are the ones who are more likely, therefore, to be cutting costs and not using period products. We also know that Share the Dignity did a survey in 2024 that looked at the affordability of period products, and they found that 64% of people with periods had struggled to afford menstrual products, and that for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, that's 83% who had struggled to afford those products. And then also people with disability, women and girls and transgender, or people who are menstruating also had struggled to afford period products, and 83% of the gender diverse community. So we know that that is a real issue, and as you highlighted, Sarani, the issue of how it impacts not just the affordability, but also how it limits your participation in sport, in work, and in daily life. So we know from that survey that 68% of the people who filled in the survey had missed sporting activities because of their period. They were worried about staining clothes, about the impact, and again we're here seeing some of that impact of stigma and shame. And that only 36% of respondents actually felt that they knew enough about menstruation before they started their first period, and that 56% missed work. So we can see that it's still an ongoing issue in Australia, even though we would think that we would be well educated and that stigma would have diminished. And there are some really great measures that we have seen that Minister Jodie Harrison talked about, the provision of sanitary products in schools, New South Wales public schools. Also the City of Melbourne has been providing period products also. So we can really see some of the ways in which our society is starting to recognise the need to support all those who are menstruating. In terms of personal stories and my interactions, certainly with First Nations communities, it comes up. We've been doing a a consultation around the experience of sexual harassment and access to health services, and that has come up around the impact of menstruating and how that impacts people's participation within the workforce also. And I know from having seen my own children, my daughters develop, how important it has been to have period undies, that has really enabled both girls to participate in sport, go swimming. You know, we know how important swimming is to Australian society, so it's a really important inclusive measure that we now have, and it's also environmentally sustainable, so a really great development in what we have available in Australia. But it certainly is a really important issue, and I'm so grateful for you having highlighted this.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anna and Patricia, and also Dr. Astrid. To conclude this, I would just want some comments from each of you. That I think Patricia touched upon this topic of how we can democratize and empower this platforms like Supernari, which is a period equity initiative, and how to create equitable access. So are there anything else that we can do in terms of creating more access to the less privileged people and the people who need this? And also in terms of how the stigma and shame impacts their menstrual health and therefore their reproductive health. And any experiences or any pointers for the transgender menstruating persons? Because I personally have no knowledge or expertise in terms of thinking about that population, which is so very neglected, I feel. So any of you, if you can just throw some light on how we can address these vulnerable communities and also how we can democratize these platforms.
Perhaps just in response to trans people who menstruate, that is a situation that does happen, and perhaps recognising that those who have decided to recognise their gender, that they feel that they are, it's actually really confronting for a trans man to then menstruate because it confronts their sense of self. So if there's then additional lack of access to products because of wealth or poverty rather, then that can be even more confronting. So it is a slightly different issue because it raises other sorts of mental health concerns for someone and sort of dysphoria ideas for someone who a trans man who's menstruating.
Right, and so just to conclude, what would be some of the ways we can address period poverty? Apart from the funding, support and everything, is there anything else that we can do?
Well, there is a great initiative. The Australian government has been providing period products in remote First Nations communities. That's a great, good start. I think it's also putting period products where people who aren't going to be able to afford them can use them for free. So in public toilets, in community health centres, in community legal centres, having them available in your workplaces, all of those accessibility measures are really significant.
And Dr. Astrid, is there anything you would like to add?
Yes, quite a different angle, but I think we also need to celebrate women and womanhood and certainly get rid of the stigma. But when my girl had her first period, I took her out for dinner. I thought it's a reason to celebrate. It's a reason to acknowledge it as something positive rather than negative. I think that's a really important thing to do. And certainly I agree with Anna. It has to be available anywhere where there's easily transit and easily available without a stigma attached to it. So if you can be proud of women and womanhood, then we also can be proud that we have periods and that it all goes with the package. Thank you.
And Patricia, is there anything, concluding comments?
Oh, I think it's just for us now to see that today, because we are on this occasion launching this Supernari initiative, to all of you to show your support for the Supernari initiative today, and I think to continue with the work that Saroni Roy Foundation will be doing to launch this campaign. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, and we would like to open to the audience for any questions that you have for our wonderful panelists. If at all, we will take one or two questions.
Issue was raised that when casualties are happening, the casualties are more for women and children. It is true, I am not debating on that. What I have noticed in the wars which are going on now, the statistics show more casualties for women and children. What is the reason? Because you have traveled all over. So what is the reason that during war casualties are happening to women and children?
It's because many of the men are forced to go out and fight, and they have to go out and literally are putting themselves in a position where they have to leave their women and their families with their women, and this is what happens. That at the end, the women are left then to care for the whole family as a result of men having to go out and defend. And this is what happens in situations like that, where often the men have to go out, and often they have to go out and seek ways in which to take care and survive for the family. So the women are left behind to have to cater for all the issues that is happening, and that involves everything from being attacked and violence to being able to provide food and shelter for their family. So they are extremely vulnerable, and this is the reason why a lot of the attention has to be placed on them, because when they arrive they have nothing, and women are not in a position to be able to just leave, to continue to live without any access to any support. And this is why for many of us as humanitarian workers, we have to be able to provide health, education, water, food, and majority are women and children. And this is purely the numbers in terms of, but the issue of period poverty is extremely big, because the period poverty, which is which is a natural biological process, affects half of the world's total population. They're talking about billions of women and girls. So it's beyond issues of refugees.
Actually, what I was thinking...
I think you can understand the scale of the issues we're talking about.
What I was thinking, see, men are going out, they are more exposed to, the war heads. Maybe the missiles are getting attracted to the women and children. I don't know.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Patricia, for addressing that question.
Sorry, we have a question.
Okay.
Probably one more question after this, and in the interest of time, we will have to do that as the last question. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm just interested in the panel's advice on how you deal with stigma and taboo in a culture such as ours, an Indian culture. A lot of us have a party when we have our period, a really embarrassing party when you're 12 where you dress up and you get lots of money and it's lots of fun, but it's really embarrassing. But at the same time, after that, it is a taboo. You can't enter a temple or you can't go to special occasions because you have your period. How do you break those cultural norms in such a entrenched culture such as Indian culture, and how do you address that going forward?
It's not only culture, it's also scientifically proved. There is some, not only it's cultural reason. Scientifically it's proven women have some infection around them, and also they don't want to spread and those kind of things, because in olden days they don't use the proper pad and those things. They use the cloth. Proper things came, but still people follow the same because they used to do that. So it's not only cultural, scientifically it's proven as well, and that's the reason they have some restrictions and everything. So there is some small reason behind it, everything, all the values they put it, there is some reason. Sometimes when we take it in a positive way, we feel better. But when we take it in a painful way, we suffer.
Thank you. Also, one of the, I think, or theories or whatever I had, because I come from the Hindu background and the Hindu culture. So when I was told about this, that I should not enter a temple, and the reason behind it I didn't know, because I went to a British school where entering a chapel was not a problem, when I'm menstruating, but entering a temple is. So I don't know how much truth it has, but I was told that it's because, in olden days, in those eras, women were made to do a lot of domestic work, household chores, cleaning the temple, and a lot of household work, and which was physically very enduring. So during menstruation, to give them that rest of not allowing them to cook and do the household chores, and to give them some rest from all the work and household work that they do, they made this rule that do not enter the kitchen, do not enter the temple when you're menstruating. So this is the story I was told, or the theory I was told. So I don't know how much there is truth into that. So thank you for that question, and thank you for Malini for addressing it. I think Chantal,
we do have, we love this interaction, but I guess this would be the last question, and so thanks for that.
Thank you, Sarah, for inviting me and for the award. Actually, this question from my team, I mentioned today to them that I'm coming, so they sent a bunch of questions. And I mentioned Supernari, and this question is related to policy and advocacy. What are the major challenges in advocating for period equity law at the state or the level of the nation, or if we are talking now on the level of environment, social governance, from governance perspective, like internationally, worldwide, or overseas, where are we in this subject?
I couldn't speak for overseas. I was thinking you will be much better placed to do that. But I think an obstacle is actually acknowledging in Australia certainly that we have poverty, period poverty. Acknowledging that people who are on Centrelink payments are suffering, they're not able to afford the products when they need them and to the quantity they need them. So I think that's a key obstacle for a start, and we actually don't acknowledge what is going on, and we haven't brought it to the fore. So I think a project like Supernari will do that. But internationally, you probably have more to say, Patricia.
I think I mentioned before earlier that there is a direct positive relationship between the use of hygienic menstruation products and higher income. So that in itself tells you look at all the countries in the world, which countries have got high income countries, low income, and you will see that that's where you see the connection. So, and also a lot of what the things we're dealing with is also the need for more education and awareness raising information, because that is still, particularly in many countries where a lot of women and girls don't still have access to education and understanding about their rights to health and so forth. So I think it's also about this broader issue of addressing education, information, which is also human rights issues. So I think internationally, the level of access to women's rights, so human rights, whether it's a right to health, right to education, right to access to water, all of these things, as you know, internationally, is very, very still. We're still on what we call the Sustainable Development Goals. Actually, the Sustainable Development Goal 5, which is gender equality, is actually one of the most, if you like, least achieved in terms of all the 17 goals, because of lack of data lack of reporting on the issues that are affecting women and girls. So there's a lot still to be done in this whole area of period poverty, and particularly the women's human rights generally. And many countries are not able to show any progress in this area, and that's why I think it's internationally we have a long way to go yet with the issue of women.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chantal, for that question. Thank you, Dr. Astrid. Thank you, Dr. Anna. Thank you, Patricia, for I don't even have words to describe what we have learned from this conversation today. I'm just mindful of time, so otherwise we could have had some more conversation on this. So I'm just going to capture what we learned, maybe a few key takeaway points for all of us. Would be the 5 P's of peace building. So I would say, I think we talked about people, so which is period equity, addressing the women, peace and security crisis of period poverty. And then we talked about peace, how satyagraha, non-violent approach, and is something, a technique that we can use and implement to give people agency and empower them. Planet, our relationship with the planet, like circular design products and period underwears and eco-friendly options, which are not just good, healthier for the planet, but also healthier for us. We also talk about prosperity and how economies, sustainable cities and communities can be built if we can take some baby steps to address this problem. We talked about partnerships. Of course, the Supanari project is heavily built or looking forward to partnerships, very meaningful partnerships, the significance of collaboration, networked multilateralism, shared responsibility and global solidarity. Because it's not one person's job or it's not one person's bandwidth or capability to address this problem. So I think all of us need to kind of come together and do this. So thank you so much to this stellar panelists for doing this. Thank you. Thank you to everyone.
Okay, I would now like to call upon the Honourable Warren Kirby MP and Saroni to facilitate our proud media partners. I would like to call upon Ainsley Dennis from Alive 90.5 FM, Jyota Shetty and Maksud Nagi from Apu Radio and Radio Hamadan, Dimple Hartaj from Daisy Australia, Varun Tiwari from Hindus Age Friends Australia TV, Manveer Kohli from Kerala Sundar Radio, Deepa Nair from Metro Himalayan, Shabel Tadros from OZ Arab Media, Harpreet Singh from Punjab Times, Sydney Partadim, Alpana Shrivastava from She Magazine, Pallavi Jain from the Australia Today, Ashok Kumar from the Indian Subcontinent Times, The Voice of Sydney, and our videographer Manish, shot by Manish.
I'm part of the media company now.
I know. Oh, sir, one more please. Ready? Ashok sir? Ashok ji? I was recording. Please. Yeah. Okay. Ready sir? Smile. Yeah.
Without these pillars of strength that I have, so Benoa here, Putra, Rishtifa, Adarsh. I think every year, since 2022, Adarsh has been an integral part of our, initiative, Mahatma Peace Symposium. And Alan, Christy, please, we can give you the certificates later. We'll talk about this. And there's one thing that I wanted to really talk about. So yesterday evening, the MC, the original MC, Preeti Chudani, she actually called in sick. Okay, and we had less than 16 hours to prepare Manav as the MC. And I'm so thankful
thankful to you, Manav, that you have been working day and night, and I had spent so much time with the MC already, and then we were like, oh, so Manav was like, oh, that's a surprise. I can see my name as the MC, and I'm like, yes, you're the MC now. So yeah, thank you. I mean, you did a wonderful job today of running this event, which is a kind of a complex event. So thank you to each of you for doing this. So please, Adarsh, that side, let's take a photo. Please, Benoit, please come.
You are all right there.
You can come to the media wall. We don't have a certificate for you to take, but yeah.
But yes, what I have to say, we really want to thank you.
So now we'll stand for a photo.
They have done an amazing job, so there's a lot of learning and inspiration from them. So kudos to you guys.
Development, founded by Dr. Talima Banerjee, Bandana Cultural School offers a rich tapestry of programs, a unique blend of talents in science, mathematics, languages, calligraphy, dramatics, and visual and performing arts. We're now preparing for the drama performance. Thank you.
Children, today I have come here to talk to you about Gandhi's teachings of non-violence and peace. You are the Bapu's 3 monkeys, so be honest and stay away from evil. You are the future of our country. Thank you.
I'm so inspired by you, sir.
And I'm too. So we need better facilities in our school. I know. You agree. After all, your own son studies here.
I would do it anyway for all my children. Madam, give me a list and it shall be taken care of.
I'm glad you are taking good care of your son in the absence of his mother.
It's all because of you, Mom. I went to school today for some election meeting and I met his teachers as well. Elia, are you happy in this school?
Yes, Dad. And I love my Tanima ma'am.
Tanima ma'am? But why?
Because she is very nice and everyone listens to her.
Oh. Welcome to my house, Tanima. Now sit down. Shall I get you a drink?
No, it's okay. Sir, you invited me to discuss something about our school?
Yes. It's something very important. I need the consent of all staff.
Consent?
Yes. And I'm sure you can help me with that. Actually, I need to acquire the left wing of the school premises for business purpose.
So what about your promises the other day?
Oh no, I will deliver what I promised. I shall renovate and upgrade the remaining section of the school.
Anyway, why do you need the left wing?
We are planning to build a hotel and casino there.
What? Next to the school? Are these the values you wish to give to our children?
Madam, to succeed in life, children don't need your ideas and books, but just a bit of this. Look at me.
I'm not signing. and advise my colleagues against it.
Then I'll issue your transfer orders and get you removed from this school.
I don't care.
Listen, you may have to pay a huge price for your decision. Anyway, think overnight and get back to me tomorrow.
Tahima, do you know they are forcing us to sign a stupid agreement?
Yes, I am aware of that. But please don't sign it.
But we are under a lot of pressure.
Be brave. I'm with you.
Yes, I know. And listen, this must be done very carefully. Don't leave any evidence behind. Elections are just around the corner.
Mom, I heard all your conversation. Son, what are you up to?
You are a politician's mother. You must be knowing these political tricks. When peaceful methods don't work, then we have to resort to force. Please, stay away from my work.
Son, any stupid and irresponsible action may bring your downfall. And don't forget that your son is in that school.
It's school time, Babu.
Okay.
So, what are you learning in school?
We learned about Gandhiji. Gandhiji said to not see, hear, and speak bad things.
Good, my son. I'm so proud of you.
To spare his classroom from any damage.
I warned you, but you didn't listen. Anyway, we have to run to school.
How do I stop this bleeding?
Dad!
My son, what happened to you? Open your eyes. Your dad is here. Who did this to my son? Madam, if you know their names, tell me now, and I will get them behind the bars.
Enough! Stop this drama.
Too much blood has been lost.
My son, nothing will happen to you.
You were getting her transferred from this school. Your son is alive because of her. She risked her own life and pulled him out of the stampede Non-violence is the greatest and most active force in the world. Non-violence leads to the highest ethics, which is the goal of all evolution. In spite of temporary victories, violence never brings permanent peace. A famous quote by Mahatma Gandhi. I object to violence because when it appears to do good, the good is only temporary. The evil it does is permanent. Let's take a pledge and promote non-violence and make it peaceful world for all.
I would like to introduce Sandeep Kumar, Rian Arpita Manier, Tamajit Chakravarti, Helen Kaur, and myself, Tanma Banerjee.
बच्चों के नाम?
Rian Arpita Manier, Tamajit Chakravarti. Can we take a group picture? Yeah.
Would the Bandara Cultural School please convene to the media wall for their presentation? Kanika and Shoba from Cash, The Shah from Evergreen Memories, Mr. Harmohan Walia from Harmohan Slick, Shantana from Live Antana, and Manish, shot by Manish.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would like to thank each and every one who have attended today's event, and especially our proud sponsors, partners, volunteers, media partners, collab partners, supporters, community outreach partners, donors, volunteers, everyone who has attended the event today. So thank you so much. And please, on your way out, our hospitality sponsor has some refreshment boxes for you. So please, on your way out, if you can please take away those refreshments. Thank you. And yes, now we're going to take photos.
to